Copper prices have surged about 23% so far this year, as mounting supply concerns continue to outweigh weak demand in major industrial economies. Analysts have cut output projections following a series of accidents and operational setbacks at mines in Chile, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Indonesia, leading many to anticipate sizable supply deficits ahead. Now, in this environment, exploration companies are racing to discover the next generation of deposits. Here we're speaking with Midnight Sun Mining, a company with conviction that it's sitting on just such an opportunity. Let's welcome Adrian O'Brien, VP of Corporate Development. Well, Adrian, we're focusing our conversation today on Dumbwa, the target here. And exploration overall is led by a gentleman named Kevin Bonel, your COO for Midnight Sun. Can you first tell us about his background, why he's the lead here, and then we'll talk about Dumbwa in terms of latest developments that's happening for the company.
Sure. So Kevin we're so lucky to have him. And this is really one of these situations where you always want to have the best technical person leading your project, particularly if you're in an area that's specialized, you want somebody that spent their time there, right? So Kevin spent better part of his career in sub-Saharan Africa, specifically in the copper region that we're working in, which is called the Domes region. And he has more big deposits to his credit than almost any other geologist. Spent more than 20 years as the exploration manager for Freeport-McMoRan while they were in sub-Saharan Africa. And of course, when Freeport pulled out of Africa entirely, Kevin became independent and was brought in by Barrick to unravel the Lumwana deposit, which they worked for nearly 20 years on and couldn't get it to hang together. So Kevin was the geologist that led their entire exploration expansion program that basically took them from a 900 million ton deposit to 1.62 billion tons, 62 years of mine life, 9 million tons of contained copper, and he did that in 24 months. So why we have him running this? Because we're incredibly lucky and we have somebody that has seen that Dumbwa has the potential to be not just as big as Lumwana, but in his eyes, bigger and higher grade. So it's a really remarkable situation.
Well, the stock performance lately has been on the uptrend because, assuming that there's been a lot going on at Dumbwa. So again, tell us about the latest developments happening here at your key target.
Okay, so there's been a lot going on. It's been a little while since we chatted. We've had Kevin in there. We've been developing our plan, developing our attack. And the biggest transition for us was taking 100% control of Dumbwa, having the chance to really guide our own destiny. And, recently now we've, of course, financed, put ourselves in a position to do all the work we need to do. But 10 million in the bank, we had Kevin driving the project. We actually brought in another geologist named Adrian Karolko. Adrian came to us from Lumina, where he'd been working with Ross Beatty and his team, Leo Hathaway in particular, and was credited with the discovery of their new Kupferschiefer deposit that exists in Poland. So it's part of Lumina Copper. It's going to be one of the 5 biggest in the world. Super exciting discovery. That moved into economics, and Adrian decided to join us as well. So Kevin and Adrian driving the plan. And what it comes down to is this. We know what we're sitting on at Dumbwa, right? We have a 20-kilometer long soil anomaly, 0.73% copper. We ran a dipole IP survey, which is it's a bit of a different type of geophysics. Rather than your traditional geophysics, this is something that's a little bit more specialized, and it gives you the idea of the depth and the dip direction, so the angle that mineralization is sitting in the ground. Mm-hmm. And if you can correlate that kind of information with what you see at surface, in our case, this thousands of samples giving us this 20-kilometer long stretch of high-grade copper grades in soil, now we can correlate all of that information, all of the historic drilling, and create a really clear, cohesive roadmap for how to drill off Dumbwa. So we completed that. We completed IP or dipole IP over the southern 11.5 kilometers of that target. And what we ended up with was basically a roadmap for 11.5 kilometers of mineralization. So now we are systematically drilling Dumbwa top to bottom. So we're starting at the south. People always ask me, why are you starting in the south? It's simple. This is a methodical approach. It isn't about just going out for splashy grades to show the market and get investors excited. It's about proving out something that we believe is a long life system that is one of these domes region systems. And the goal is to go in and methodically build it out. So starting at the south, going from line 1 in terms of the IP to line 6 by Christmas, being able to show people a defensible bulletproof model and show how big this can be when you extrapolate it over the entire distance. And to give you like a little bit of context, if you look at Lumbwana and you look at Dumbwa, we know that geologically they're identical. We know that there's a really clear analog, but in terms of the scale, Lumbwana is 1.62 billion tons, and it sits within a 4-kilometer long envelope, roughly 150 meters deep. What we're sitting on at Dumbwa is 20 kilometers long, much higher grade at surface, exists over a 250 to 500 meter wide area, and it has at least 200 meters of depth to it.
Well, how, in terms of how much is left to go through, you mentioned it's systematic drilling.
Yes.
What's the timeline that you've got planned here in the team?
Well, it's a lot of drilling. You're looking at something 20 kilometers long. That's going to take some time. But our plan is a little bit different than what you typically see. I think one of the things that holds back companies within our sector is the speed at which they attack their projects. When you have something this big that's a tier 1 target, you can't go into it and spend 5 or 10 years poking away at it and working on this. You need to go in with an aggressive attack plan and get it to the finish line as quickly as possible, particularly when you're in a situation like we are. Perfect timing for copper, super hot market. Like now is the time to go. So we just locked up $30 million. We have 4 drill rigs on the ground right now. 4th one just started turning. We're going to put more rigs in there in January. And the goal is to drill this off as quickly as possible. So we're drilling right through the rainy season. We just cut a deal with SGS Labs to speed up our turnaround on assays. So we've got our assay turnaround now down to 2 or 3 weeks. Everything is in overdrive. And that's the goal. Like, let's get there. Let's show the world that we can not just make the discovery that we just made. Let's drive this all the way to the finish line in record time.
Yep. And the financing that was just done, exactly about 26.5 million.
Yes.
Is that USD?
It's Canadian. So it's 26 and a half, and with the shoe, it'll be probably close to 30 in total.
Understood. So how much of that is going specifically to Dumbwa drilling? And also, how far will that take you toward defining a maiden resource?
That's a really good question. So that will take us, gives us the runway to go and drill for a year or two. It all depends on how aggressively we drill. So what we were talking about is, of course, putting 4 rigs on the ground. Let's increase that to 6. Maybe we'll increase that to 8. The goal is speed of execution. And that's really what's driven the rise in our share price is that, we set out on this course 14 months ago. We told the world what we were going to do, and we've executed on every single step. Everything we said we were going to do, we did. Mm-hmm. And that's driven us to pretty incredible highs for an 18-month thing. This was a 20-cent stock for 10 years. We hit a $360 million market cap a week or 2 ago. So we're sitting now between 200, 300 million. So from 20 million to 270 million in basically 12 months. It's been incredible. So just to answer your question, speed is everything. Attack it. That'll carry us a long way. It'll get us to a point where we can show the world how big Dumbwa actually is.
What would constitute success at this initial phase of drilling at Dumbwa?
Success at this point, I think it would be really simple, and I think we've already hit it, is to go in, okay, we've got this plan, we've got this model, we've got an analog. We've said, look, Dumbwa and Lumbwana are identical, okay? Kevin is the guy who led the team that unraveled Lumbwana, took it from 900 million tons to 1.62 billion in 24 months, which in our world, this, that's extraordinary in terms of speed. So we've done that work. We've looked at it. We've said, look, we know why Dumbwa and Lumbwana are the same. We know the potential for Dumbwa. We think we know how to go at it, and we've developed a model. So we did the work. We did the IP. We did all the work we needed to do to prepare and correlate all the data in order to provide this, what I refer to as a roadmap. Then we went out and we tested it. And what did we do? We hit it. So not only have we found what we said we were going to find, we've now repeated it. We have more assays coming. We're on track. We've got the model. We figured out the model, that the model works. Now we're going to show the world that it extends over at least 11.5 kilometers, and we think the full 20. So when you start to think about the size and scale of that opportunity, it's extraordinary, but we've already done what we set out to do. We found it, and we're not even into the highest grade, richest, most broad part of this system, or that we refer to the heart of the system. Yeah. We're still on our way marching forward, but taking that ultra methodical, systematic approach, building it the way you build a mine. We're doing this the right way. So that any major that comes in that wants to look at this, and of course our goal is M&A eventually, they'll be able to look at this and go, you did it the right way. There's no questions here. We didn't go drill a hole way up north and way down south and say, 20 kilometers, it all connects. Yeah. We're actually showing them a block model. So interim success is drilling that first 2.5 kilometers by Christmas, creating a defensible bulletproof block model and saying to people, look, over 2.5 kilometers, we have X amount of millions of tons. We think it extrapolates over the entire 11.5, and therefore it will likely be this big. Then the world can sit up and take notice of what Dumbwa really is.
For you guys moving forward, what sorts of catalysts do you see coming up beyond releasing exploration results that you believe could move the stock up?
Well, okay, beyond exploration results. I mean, exploration results are really a huge driver for us. So Kazhiba drill results, we just finished drilling 160 holes. We're preparing to release our maiden 43101 resource for Kazhiba. So Kazhiba is this ultra high grade copper oxide deposit that we're working with First Quantum to get into production at Kazhiba, which is right beside us. So we have that moving forward. We just finished 160 holes. We now just started drilling all of our eastern targets there, which is kind of our expansion potential. But we're going to put out our very first resource on Kazhiba, which will backstop our entire market cap today. It backstops our valuation and provides the opportunity for a re-rate. So depending on the size of Kazhiba, the grade, and what we see, which we think is going to be pretty impressive to say the least, we're going to put that out to the market in late November, early December. That provides an opportunity for a real re-rate for Midnight Sun, and just stacking drill result after drill result after drill result with now this new deal with SGS to speed up the process. I mean, to call it catalyst rich is an understatement.
And I don't know about you, but I think that we're already seeing generalist investors coming into the space. We'll see more of it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you get questions about, okay, well, you're in Zambia.
Yeah.
No, I don't understand this country. Africa is a whole continent. What's it like building a business out there? As we close off here, talk to us about, the reception, the support you've got at Midnight Sun to be building out in this copper belt.
Look, I think the biggest thing, and I know you know this, when people talk about Africa, there's a tendency, particularly in North America, to paint Africa with one brush. People treat Africa like a country rather than a continent, and it is massive. There are so many countries there, and every single one of them is completely unique. And when you look at Africa, there are terrible parts of Africa that I would not be excited to work in, and frankly, I wouldn't go to. But when you're talking about Zambia, Namibia, Botswana, Cote d'Ivoire, there are areas there that are absolutely world-class jurisdictions. And just to keep the focus on Zambia, we've been there for 14 years. Okay, we're not new to Zambia. We've enjoyed every minute of it. It's a great place to be. And when you look at what the government is doing, you look at what President Hichilema is doing, he has stepped up. They're currently, let's call it number 7 in the world, right? For copper production. They want to be number 2. They want to be number 2. They're doing everything they can to get there. So he set forth with this plan. The first thing he wanted to do was attract new companies in order to boost global production. So he brought Ivanhoe and Rio Tinto in. Ivanhoe took out 8,000 square kilometers of land, way out to the west of us, off the belt, but in a good area for potential discovery. Rio Tinto took 6,000 square kilometers. He's permitting and helping Barrick with their build out at Lumwana. They're doing a $2 billion super pit expansion. From what I hear, they have something like 24 drills turning. I mean, it is insane what's going on in Zambia. And people have to understand that not all countries are built equally in Africa. And certainly if you're in the right jurisdiction, it's one of the top places in the world to be. And if you ask me where I'd like to be in the world right now, I'm there. I'm working exactly where I want to be. Zambia is phenomenal.
Well, Adrian, it's a pleasure to see you. Where can investors go to essentially learn more about the company? Give us your website.
Sure. So go to www.midnightsunmining.com.
Yep.
You can check everything out there. And I always tell people, reach out to me directly. Adrian at midnightsunmining.com. Again, I think it's too long an email address to say. Adrian at midnightsunmining.com.
Yeah, it's at the end of every press release, guys.
Absolutely, it's there. Send me an email.
Yeah.
Talk to me. Reach out directly. I'll be happy to send you any info that's pertinent, any new interviews, anything that's out that we can share. We want to spread the word. And like you said, I'm on the road constantly. I show people my travel schedule and they always fall over. It's ridiculous. But you know what? It's the name of the game right now.
Yep.
You can't have a great project like this and not be out there telling the story.
Especially now.
Especially now. It's absolutely crucial. And so I'm happy to be the one to do it.
Yeah. Well, just like you, I also go to our website, and you guys can go to MMA on CEO.CA to actually go and look directly at what investors are saying about the company at any time of the day. Thanks for watching.